So today's topic is about standards and design parameters for the toilet design. So there are different kinds of toilets. So first we will introduce you to the different types within the residential sector. So one of it is the accessible residential bathrooms. So which means that the toilets or the bath areas have to be easily accessible by the wheelchair. So the circle that you see, the dotted circle is nothing but your turning radius of the wheelchair so that it can easily move around without any hindrance. And you can actually, if you see the door, now when you actually design for an accessible residential bathrooms, especially for the people who can't access them, the door will always open out. The idea is when you're outside, someone will assist you and push your wheelchair in and close the door for you, which you can clamp from inside. And once after usage, the person who has used this can push the door and then let himself or herself out. Mm, Just wait a second. So when you enter, now this is very clear. Now what happens in a toilet design is you always have a wet area and you have a dry area. Wet area is nothing but where your shower area is or your bathtubs are. The dry area will always have your cistern, which is nothing but the pot, and the wash basin. Okay? Please make sure you write down these technical names. You always have a threshold which is there. Either it's in the form of a tile drop or you will have like a stone bar, which is nothing but the threshold which demarcates the difference between the two spaces. In an accessible residential bathrooms, when you're designing for specially abled people, you don't have the threshold. It's always on the same so that it doesn't act as a hindrance for the wheelchair to move around. For them, like for an handicapped toilet, you always have these grab bars, which are nothing but they are the handles. So you always, they require assistance because of which you always have these grab bars. So when you see there is bathtub. Next to the bathtub on two sides, there are these grab bars which are there. Okay. And similarly, where the pot is, there is another grab bar which is there. Now, this is something which talks about you need to also understand the door sizes. So, what happens is generally you need to have a clear opening of 850 mm, which is the minimum. Okay. Now, here the wheelchair, the minimum opening is actually 81.3 centimeter, which is nothing but 813 mm, which is actually less and it's tighter. For it has to be a very compact wheelchair. Not all wheelchairs are so compact. So make sure that whenever you are designing an accessible residential bathroom or any handicap toilets, you have to make sure that they are at least 1.2 meters or 1.1 meter clear distance between the two walls, and then your frames and everything will come into picture. So these are just two layouts. One is very clear. As soon as you enter, you have a free space. On one side you have a wet area, on the other side you have a dry area. On the right hand side, the diagram is wherein you just enter and everything happens within the space. uh, like one space, there is no like a dedicated wet area and the dry area. However, whenever you are designing any toilets, whether they are handicapped or for normal people, you always have to make sure that you enter into a drier area because that is a frequently used area. For example, your wash basin, you're going to frequently use your bathrooms to wash your hands and also for your to use the pot. Showers are something which generally happens rarely. It's like a one or two occasions during the day, because of which it's always, and it makes the entire floor space wet. So that is always stuck on the inner side or the farther side of the toilet. Next are your corner shower bathrooms, wherein you actually have these corner cubicles of the shower. Now the shower cubicles range around 800 mm by 800 mm, but the smallest is 800 by 800 mm. And then you have your pot and then your wash basins. So if you see, as soon as you enter, you always have your wash basin which is easily accessible and the first thing. Then comes your pot and then comes your shower area. So this is one which talks about 2.9, it talks about 1.8 meters by 1.6 meters. So which is 1800 by 1600 mm. The other is 1.98 meters by 1.98 meters. It's more like a square. But what happens is you actually have a dryer ledge or a to enter, where if you close the door, that becomes like your very dryer space where you can change your clothes and things like that. It's not going to be a wet floor. And then you enter a space which is little more wetter, and then is your shower area. So generally the shower cubicles will have glass partitions or the glass door to enter, or a curtain, shower curtain which is there. The next is called the full bath bathrooms, which is again when you enter you have a wash basin, then you have a pot, and at the end you have the shower area. Or as soon as you enter, on the right hand side is your shower area. In front of you is your pot, and there is your wash basin. Now, if you see, all these layouts are actually ensuring that most of your accessories are being lined up together so that your assembly of your water supply and your drainage is in place. Then comes, this is another one. It's just the sizes are differing. These are half bath utility bathrooms. Now, in residential, not always you need to have a shower area in all the, or you have the pot together. So there would be something which we are very familiar with is your closet, okay? Or wherein what happens is you just have a wash basin and you have your pot, or which is called a common, bathroom which is there, or a common toilet space which is designed next to your living room or where your dining is. And generally your bedrooms will have a toilet which is much more larger, which has your shower as well as your wash basin and your pot. Then there is something which is linear shower. So when you have your shower area and when you have your pots separate, which is your to do with the way the Indian standard is. In terms of olden days, if you see, your toilets were always separate from your bath areas. They were not together. So at that time, you go for these linear bathrooms so that you can tuck them next to each other. Then there is something which is called a single wall, so that your accessories are on the single wall and all the drainage or your water supply comes in through that wall. The rest of the walls are drier. Or otherwise, you do have something like a split. So depending on the area that you have for your design, you can have these various kinds of different typologies that you can design in. And also, it's important what are the requirements from the client's side and what is the space that is required for the same. These are your split bathrooms. Split bathrooms are nothing but you can actually have a partition between the two, which clearly demarcates the space. So the left hand side is actually have a sliding door next to the two wash basins which are there, and then you have the pot and you have the bath area, so that you can actually close it, and only wash basin is being used. So you can actually divide the space. The next is you have two doors which are there, okay? Wherein if you want to design, if you want, you can actually keep your wash basins accessible with your closets or your ledge, and the shower area and your pot is being accessible by someone else. So it's like at one time more people can utilize that space. This is your split entry, wherein, so generally whenever we are designing toilets, it's said that toilets should be in such a way that they are not easily being seen by the outsiders. So like for example, residential, most of the toilets, you even if your bedroom door is open, you don't see the toilet, right? So which means that there has to be a certain kind of visual barrier. So split entry bathrooms are those. So even if someone opens the bathroom, it, it's not being easily accessible if there is someone using it inside. Okay. So this is something like a split entry bathroom which is there. You guys can see the screen, right? In case you have any questions, please put it into the chat box. And in case the screen is lagging, the internet is good at my end, so just sign off and sign in again. Maybe it's like sometimes that works. Ergonomics becomes very important when you're doing your toilet design. So it has to be very easy for a person to access your wash basins. So like for example, the mirror. Most of the time when you're designing and you want to place the mirror, the height of the mirror has to be perfectly matched. Now you can't do it individually for individual people. So what you do is you look at the standards. So the standards easily talk about that the finish level of your wash basin can be at around between 760 to 910 mm or 76 to 91 centimeters. Okay. Now, what kind of a wash basin that you use is up to you in terms of your design. You have different kinds of wash basins. What is there in the picture right now is the under counter, so that you don't see the wash basin above the counter. It's been hidden within the counter itself. And then you have a something which is like a buffer space between your wash basin and your mirror, so that the water doesn't splash on the mirror and spoil the mirror. Also, there is space which is left for other accessories to get attached, or even sometimes your taps. You don't necessarily have a tap that comes from the counter. And then you define the height for your mirror. The other thing is when you're having a shower, at what height is to be your shower has to be. Now, shower is something which is going to be on the top of your head. So 7 feet by 6 inches, or 2.2 meters, or 2290 mm is the shower height. Okay, the standard height can be 2 meters or 2.03 meters. Uh, then your minimum height can be 1.8. Now 1.8 is nothing but your 6 feet. But there might be people in the family who are more than 6 feet. Then how do you do it? So it's better to go with the standard height, or you go with your ceiling. That is the ceiling height which is shown actually 7 feet 6 inches. So you put it between your 7 feet 6 inches to your standard height. When you're talking about the ledge or the shower area, wherein you're also giving a seating, especially when you're designing an accessible bathroom or an handicap bathroom, then you need to give a bench which is nothing but 38 centimeters. Okay. Now, on your right hand side, you can actually see where the access panel is, where your mixer or your dual or your tap is going to be. Okay, where you do the adjustments for your shower and things like that. So that is at around 102 to 127 centimeters, and your tap is actually between 84 to 91 centimeters. Now these are actually, if you go in the market, you will have standardized sizes and heights as per the makes. So you have a lot of makes. You have Jaguar, you have Grohe, and so many are there in the market right now. These are the heights which are also very important in terms of your where do you actually place your toilet paper roll. It is very important because you don't want the toilet paper roll to get wet. So it's very important, and that where are you going to keep it? Is it easily accessible by the person? So that's the height of the toilet paper roll. It's also called the TPR. So whenever you're going to make a drawing, we might ask you where is your TPR. Okay. Along with the toilet paper roll, they have not shown the jet spray, but which is nothing but your health faucet. Okay. Health faucet is nothing but your jet spray which is there, which is always going to be on the right hand side because major of the population use their right hand to access. So that's how it is. So here if you see there is a small shelf as well which is kept. So things can be kept over the shelf as well when you're accessing the pot. The shower cubicle layouts that I talked about earlier, these are the shower cubicles which are there. As I mentioned, they come by 80 by 80 or 800 by 800, 900 by 900. There are ones which are rectangular as well. You can see they are being accessed differently. You have a corner opening, you have a side opening, you have something which opens like it's like a door swing that happens. It's not a sliding. So depending on the space that you have and the kind of bathroom that you need to design for, you can choose what kind of a shower cubicle you want to use. Shower cubicles are generally easier and better because they make sure that the bathroom is generally drier. It's also a very Western concept which has been adopted in India. So in the shower cubicle, you can actually see the top of the shower arm. So you can actually collate that how much high the shower arm can be. Now let's understand the minimum standards. Now there is something which is your DCPR, okay, which is nothing but your development regulations which are there, which talks about the minimum requirements for toilet as per the development control and promotion regulations. So for residential, these are the minimum sizes that we are talking about. You can definitely go more than this, but also you guys need to understand as architects, toilets are something which are occasionally used spaces. They don't become like a major space within the house that you design for. So you can't over design a space as well at the same time because there's a lot of cost component that goes into place and also the usage of the space. So whenever a person is going to put in money to buy a house, it's going to maximum try and see how much is the usable space that you get apart from your service spaces which are there. Not necessarily always the door is being facing inward. Ideally, it should. But as I told you, if you have someone which is handicapped or someone which is specially abled, you want that person to access it. And because of which, few of the layouts that we have chosen have a swing that opens outside. So the water doesn't drip out. Definitely it drips out, but what it actually has a rubber gasket. The door has a rubber gasket at the end of it, which prevents so the water actually drops down. Okay, you generally dry yourself within the shower and then you come out. Generally, that's the practice that is across. So even if it sprays out, it's very less. So I will show you pictures in which how people are been dealing with the immediate shower space. So sometimes you might have seen in the hotel rooms and things like that, you have these wooden slats flooring, which actually has these openings so that the water drains down. So immediately you step on this wooden slate kind of a thing, which is perforated, and from there then you step into the dryer area. So that is generally the space where you wear your bathrobes and things like that. So when you look at the residential bathrooms as per the DCPR, in bathroom, the minimum size in square meters is 1.5 and minimum width is meters is 1.10. So ensure that whenever you have a shower area, 900 width is minimum for a shower area. Okay, so that is what they are referring to when they are talking about the bathroom. Water closet, your WC or your pot or your cistern is 1.1 and 0.90. Okay, because the pot has to be at minimum 600 to 550, 450 to 550 from the wall end. The center line of your pot has to be 450 to 550 mm so that a person can easily access it. Combined bathroom and water closet is 2.2 by 1.1. So if I go back and show you which Like if I have to design, which actually imagine this bathtub is a shower cubicle, then there is a wash basin and all. So this totally you have to fit in between 1.9 by 2.2. Nothing more than that. And it's good, spacious, easily accessible as well. So 2.2 by 1.1. Minimum and maximum height for all above with a flat roof are 2.2 meters and 4.2 meters respectively, measured from the surface of the floor of the lowest point of the ceiling. This is nothing but your clear height, which they are talking about. When you have it 4.2 meters respectively, you can actually have a loft space. So generally your syntax tank is housed within that, but otherwise 2.2, 2.4 is good enough for a bathroom height. Now these are few of the pictures that I got so that you can correlate between the layouts that we talked about. So this is nothing but a corner shark cubicle. If you see, it has a glass on all two sides which are exposed, but otherwise it has a wall on the other side. You have a pot. Now because there is a shark cubicle, there is a shark tray at the bottom. So you don't need to give a depression. If whenever you don't use a shower tray, you need to give a slight tile drop so that the water doesn't flow into your dryer area. And if you see, the try and avoid the door on where the shower, like wherever the shower is going to face, there is a glass wall so that there is very less water that comes onto the door. So as you open the door, it's not too much of water that actually is splashed out of the shower cubicle. This is another thing wherein you actually don't have a shower curtain or a shower or a glass partition for the shower, but you something have which is generally just a kind of a minimal partition that you give so that you avoid the water from spilling out. At the same time, you get that openness. Otherwise, within a very tight space, it becomes very difficult for the use. Now, if you understand this, the wash basin counter and the mirror has the space. Now see the how the space has been occupied, and that's why there's no point putting the mirror so close. So you always give a buffer space which is there. This is in another space, another kind of thing. Now in each of the photographs, you see a window. It is mandatory that you need to have an external window for the toilets and your kitchens. Okay, all service spaces has to be naturally ventilated and well lit. So whenever you design toilets, ensure that there is daylight which penetrates through your toilets and your bathrooms, and as well there is a medium through which the fresh air can come in, and there is an exchange of air that happens. This is the top view wherein you see the shower area. Okay, and next to the shower area, if you see, there are these wooden slats, that is a mat, which is actually nothing but a wooden mat which actually drains the excess water. And they have just created a patterning of, basically your choices of materials are also very important, that how do you create these spaces within the wash areas, especially for storages and things like that. So there are ample of finishes which are available in the market, and depending on your design and the concepts that you have chosen, you can design them. Now in this you can clearly see that there is a drainage channel at the edge of the shower area. I hope everyone can see that. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay. So that is also very important because it's just trapping the water at the source itself. So services is also about being efficient. So you ensure that wherever you know that there is going to be a water, you trap it and you ensure that it drains out the floor. And if you again see, it's right at the farthest end. So first, as soon as you enter, you will have your wash basin and your pot, and then is the shower area. Look at the rails, basically the towel rods and things like that, the accessories. Then you have your shower caddy, which is nothing but these trays where you put your shampoos, your conditioners, your bath soaps, and things like that. That is called a shower caddy. Then you have different kinds of shower heads. You have something which is fixed. Then you have a telephone shower as well, which is nothing but an accessible. Then there are these panels which actually have a lot of systems inbuilt in it, which can give you various forms of nozzles. So it actually gives you pressurized air. You go onto any of these websites, uh, Grohe or Jaguar, as I mentioned earlier, you get these different varieties which are being available. Then because it's residential, you have to ensure you need to provide for a hot water and the cold water. So the shower will definitely have a mixer. So the panel that you see in front of yourself, from where you adjust from hot to cold and things like that, that is also called a mixer, which mixes the hot and the cold water well so that you get water as the right temperature that you want, or you can adjust it as per your needs. Okay, so it definitely has a mixer which is inbuilt in it. We will see that in detail when you are looking at the water supply and studying how the water supply happens between these. Now, in the spots that you see, you don't have a shower. You don't have a flush tank, which is being seen. It is basically being tucked within the walls so that it's hidden, and what you see is just the panel which has the button to press the flush. Now this is like a very tight space in a residential area, and you have, in such a tight space, this is how you can manage. So you do have sometimes constraints and limitations when you design toilets. So the corners are something which cannot be used otherwise. So then there are a lot of uh, these accessories which come in corner sizes. So this is like a pedestal wash basin which is there, which is a corner wash basin, and you have a corner flush tank along with the pot which is there. Yeah. Now this one doesn't have a window, doesn't look like, or no, it doesn't have a window at all. So either it will have a ventilator at the top or it is mechanically ventilated. It's also, this is very typically a Western kind of a very efficient, small, tight bathroom. This is in another one, which is just a closet, wherein you don't have the shower area. But see where they have tucked it in and how they have ensured that they get the clearances in terms of the height. So the wall tiles that you see is also called a dado. It's DADO. That is called the dado tiles, which are nothing but the wall tiles that come up in your toilets or your bathrooms. Okay. Now, after looking at the residential, it's also important to understand what are the different kinds of and how do you calculate. For residential, it's very simple. You will have bedrooms which will have inbuilt bathrooms to it or attached bathrooms to it, and you will have something which is like a common toilet which has been accessed by all. So whenever you have guests and things like that, they can access it and don't intrude your privacy by accessing your bedrooms and so on the attached toilets. Now, what happens is in your office building, there are certain Indian standards that you need to follow. So, when you are looking at an office building, for male personnel, one for every 25 people or part thereof, and female, one for every 15 persons. So, you will always, whenever you are looking at a public building, you will always do a male and a female toilet separately. You will ensure that the access to the male and the female toilet are separate, uh, so that it's Generally, even in your, like, best example is your malls. So when you enter your malls, you'll always see that the gents toilet is first and the women's toilet is the far most. Also, when you enter, when you're moving across, you don't there is no visual connect to what's happening inside. So that is something which is called your toilet ethics. You have to ensure that there is a visual barrier. Okay, there is a certain kind of privacy maintained. So whenever you are calculating for an office building, you have to ensure for every 25 male, you require one water closet, which is the WC. And for every 15 females, you have to give one. Wash basin is one for every 25. Now urinals are up to 6 people, you don't have to give. One for 7 to 20 people, two, two for 21 to 45, three for 46 to 70, and hence, you have to just keep on adding as you require. Now, within an office building, you will always have a public toilet, which is there in every floor. Plus, you will have these individual toilets, which are much more private and used only for the office people. So depending on your requirements, you can then calculate them. So whenever we are being designing any kind of buildings henceforth, we have to use these standards to calculate how many water closets we'll require, how many urinals we'll require, how many wash basins we require. For the factories, now in the factories, for the male persons, it's 1 to 25, 2 for 26 to 35 people, 3 for 36 to 65, and 4 for 66 to 100 people. And females, it's 1 for 1 to 15, 2 for 16, and so on and so forth. So guys, I would say keep this chart handy with you whenever you are going to engage yourselves with your architectural design processes. And your wash basins and urinals are same as for the offices. So if you're designing for 25 people, you will have to make sure that you have to have the uh, one wash basin for 25. And urinals, it's the same standards. If you have only 7 people, you don't require any urinal. And as you move on, it's the same. Yes, urinals are additional to the pots. It cannot be separate. It cannot be like you have a choice between the two. You have to provide both, because here you're talking about larger uh, floor, like influx of people, or the usage on the floor is going to be much more higher. It's not residential. For the factories, this is the standards, which talks about 15, 35, 65, and 100. You keep adding as you move. And for females, it's 12, 25, 40, 57. For your multiplexes, concert and convention halls and theaters and stadia, you have one per 100 persons up to 400 persons. And for over 400 persons, add at the rate of 1 per 250 persons. Now here you're talking about huge number of population that is going to access it, but they are coming for a particular reason. Not necessarily all of them are going to utilize the toilets within that stipulated time period that they are there. Also, the influx of people are staggered because there is a lot of floating population. So whenever you are calculating any kind of services, there is something which is called a fixed population, which is nothing but a people who are going to habitat, like utilize that space for more than uh, 6 hours or 8 hours, which means that they start the office at 8 o'clock and they are going to be there till 6 or 7 or 8, depending on their office hours. That's like a fixed. And there will be floating population, which is people who are coming and going, who will only come visit for an hour or half an hour and move out. And within that time period, they require to access it. Then you should have designed for the sufficient population. So that's the standard. Now here when you talk about the wash basin for a public, it's 1 per 200 persons. And then you keep adding them. The staff, same number as WCs. So when you talk about, so generally what we do is, the thumb rule is how much of a pots that you've designed for, you give so many wash basins. The best is all of y'all will have the memory of your mall toilets or the theaters. So you know the kind of the array of line of wash basins that are lined up, whichever malls that you go to. Public is one per, so urinal is one per 25, and staff it will be the same because it's the fixed population again. For art galleries, libraries, and museums, it's something similar, one per 200 persons, but up to 400, and over 400 you keep adding one per 250. For female, it's one per 100 persons up to 200 persons, and 200 persons at the rate of one per 150. Now, if you see, there is a difference between the male and the female because male will always have a choice between the urinals and the pots. And that's why you will always see the female, the cubicles are going to be much more higher in numbers whenever you're designing a public toilet. For the wash basin, its public is 1 per 200 persons, urinals is 1 per 50, and the staff requirements are the same as earlier. For the hostels, now hostels not necessary, all the hostels have toilets which are attached to your hostel rooms. So you will definitely have something which is a common toilet. So for residents and residential staff for male, 1 per 8 persons or part thereof. For residential and residential staff female, it's 1 per 6 persons. For non-residents, for male persons, 1 for 1 to 25, 2 for 26 to 35, 3 for 36. So you keep adding as you move from between 15, 15, 10, 10 kind of a thing. So it becomes like first 25, then it's 35, then 65 and 100. For a non-resident, for female personnel is 1 for 15 persons, 2 for 16 to 25, and 3 for more, like 20 to 40 persons. Again, the wash basins for the hostels, same as the WBC. How many number of WBCs or cubicles you're giving, similarly are your wash basins. For residents and residential staff is 1 per 25. For non-residents, same as that for office buildings, staff requirements are there. Okay, I would advise after the class or later, whenever you have time, go through the standards, and in case you have any questions, either you email it to me or we can take it in the next class. Okay, but these are very simple standards which are going to help you to calculate. What we have to do is, whenever, like for example in ideas, once you get your design brief that what are you going to design for, you'll definitely know the clients that you're going to design for. You will be given the numbers that you're going to design for, and then accordingly you will have to start calculating how many number of cubicles that you require, male, female, urinals for males, and wash basins for male, female again. Whether you want to give shower areas as well, depending on, if for example, if there is a swimming pool area. Now, no one is going to access the swimming pool directly. You will always have a changing room and a shower room. Then you need to calculate those as well. Schools and yeah.
So
Yes.
with an auditorium or a movie theater, you can still get an idea of the maximum number of people present. But how exactly do you clarify an idea of people for something like a mall? Do you just go by what the client intends, or is there a
No.
specific?
What happens is in a mall, they actually have so the client, whenever who is going to come to you to design the malls, it will tell you the maximum capacity
Right.
that they are going to expect. Okay, so you calculate, and floor wise they divide that space. So
Okay.
that's why each floor you will have a certain set of toilets. You will never club them only at one floor. So you actually try and bifurcate it.
Hmm.
So if you see, the number of toilets will be ideally when your food courts and things like that are there, or even your play areas, the number of cubicles should be much more compared to the others.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, welcome. So here you have your schools and educational institutions, which talks about the nursery schools, wherein 1 per 15 pupil, students or part thereof. Educational institutions, non-residentials for boys, it's 1 per 40 pupils. Educational institutions for girls, non-residential is 1 per 25 pupils. Now residential It's 1 per 8 pupil and 1 per 6 pupil for the girls. Now here you have to be very careful because depending on what you are designing for, your ergonomics is going to differ. So in the next class, we'll be covering also ergonomics of if you're designing for kids, then what should be the heights of the wash basins? What should be the height of the pot that you're looking at? Where should be the grab bar? What kind of safety regulations that you should consider when you're designing for and things like that, especially the finishes part of it. Uh, Then in the restaurants, you have one for 50 seats up to 200 seats, and for over 200 seats, every you add one per 100 seats. Similarly, for female, it's one for 50, 200, and then you keep adding. It's something similar, which is there. Wash basins is one per WC that you give. Urinals for public rooms is one per 50 persons or parked thereof. You might have seen that a lot of the restaurants in today's time, you do have something which is being unisexual bathrooms wherein you will see there is a urinal as well, there is a pot and there is a wash basin, and it's being used for by both. Then there is something which is another, which is like a restaurants for the non-residential staff, which is there, and so it's 15. So it's mainly juggling between 15 to 25. And when you have residential, it juggles between 6 to 8 or 10, that kind of stuff. These are the residential hotels which are talking about. So you will definitely have attached one with your bath, with your hotel rooms. But also there are a lot of common spaces, especially your dining area. Then you'll have your gym, you'll have your swimming pool, you'll have your banquets and things like that. So more and more programs, more and more complexity. You have to keep adding and ensuring that you have enough amenities to serve the guest very easily. Uh, These are the layouts that we are talking about. Now, what happens is this is especially a layout for a handicap one. Again, the door is on the outer side. If you see, there is the pull bar or a pull rail which is there so that you can push the door out. You actually have these, you can pull down these rails which are there. Otherwise, they are being pulled back so that it doesn't act like a hindrance. So in the section, if you see, these are like grab bars through which a person can assist himself or herself from the chair of the pot to the chair of the to the wheelchair. They generally have these shelves so that you can put your things, and then you have your wash basins which are there. Now here what happens is this layout, if you see there is no threshold, there is no tile drop which is there at all. It's only at one floor level. So you just move in and then you are it's easy to access all of the accessories. So another 800 is the minimum that is there. Okay, you need to give more than that. Ideally, what we look at is 1.2. Okay, now this toilet is 2.5 by around 1.8. Okay, so that is a handicap toilet which has all these kinds of stuff. Now, if you see in the section, it has a soap dispenser, it has a paper towel dispenser as well. So you need to know these are the extra accessories which are there. Sanitation requirements for the airports and the stations are again calculated as per the floating populations. So you will, as you do it for the mall, so there will be a lot of floating population which will be there. And it's also in terms of your airports and your stations, it's the accessibility. How much far a person has to walk. It has to be within a certain reach. So especially in the airports, if you've seen, you have to have a uh, like you have these bays where they are where the doors are to enter the planes, and if you see, it's like three three bays at a time or four bays at a time are catering to one set of toilets, so they are being staggered well so that you don't waste time moving around to access the toilets. So airports are being like, there are lots of toilets which are being designed. They actually have a central service core which runs. Stations also similar. You will always have it before you enter the platform. At that your service bay areas where all your food and all that kind of stuffs are there, all your tickets and all are there. There you have the toilets which are being designed. I hope Kshitij I've answered your question. Rati, okay, yes, I'm coming to it. Because it is a wheelchair or a physically disabled toilet. So what happens is dado panic strip is nothing but there is an alarm set up. So you can push the button in case a person is being it's stuck inside, or there is something or a certain kind of assistance the person requires. I think someone was trying to say something. Hello. Okay. This is just where your pot is, and your wash basin is actually going to be outside. As per the hygiene standards, we don't recommend these layouts because it's always better that your wash basin is next to it, especially with the pandemic that we're facing, where we are expected to wash our hands like every 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever. So make sure that your wash basins are accessible within the room itself. Okay. There are different heights which are there. Also, there are a lot of hooks which are that you require because you want to hang your, like for us women, it's always easy to hang our purses. For you guys, you always prefer those ledges because you want to put your wallet, your phones, and things like that. So these are smaller things which are required because it just makes the usability much more efficient and easier. Now this is something which is like a two which are tucked next to each other. Okay. And it talks about an independent use so that the person can actually go in, grab the using the grab bar or your pull rail, you just close the door and then you utilize the space. Now this is something which is like a special kind of a thing wherein the door it actually pulls in, but it has a lot of space which is there. Okay. Dado are not the toilet tiles. They are called dado tiles. So tiles which are being put onto the walls are called the dado tiles. So the tiles don't go right up. They generally come to the lintel level, and after that you can see the beam, right? So that space is called the dado space. Here they have a retractable bench which can be used. Okay. So in case you are going for a long distance uh, yes. Uh, it's DAD. So that's the dado. So you always have a skirting. Above skirting till your beam soffit or your ceiling, whatever it is called the dado. That surface is called the dado. And that tiling is called the dado tiles. Uh, yeah, the baby the bench is also for the, yeah, you can use it for changing nappies for the babies as well. Generally you have it at the when but this is something which is at the seating height, if you see, and it's adjustable. And also it's actually for these specially challenged or physically enabled people to sit, and if they want to change their clothes and things like that, it could be used, because if you see it has a shower area as well onto your right hand side. So this is something that these are all the kind of components that are being required for a handicapped toilet. You need to have your grab bars, which are movable. So if you don't need them, you move it out. So it doesn't, be an hindrance for usage. Wherever the shower area is, you again have these vertical grab bars which are there. Then you have your wash basins for your washing hands. Again, there is a thing. And if you see, your dado panic strip is at the it's continuous okay, where you are going to access it. Like for example, it starts from the door and it comes right to where your shower is, so that you can just press it and you get this, someone will get a signal and you will get assistance. It's also very important because most of these people do have certain kind of face certain kind of seizures and things like that. So then during that time they require assistance, and it's very important to maintain the safety of that person. These dado, sorry, panic strips are being placed correctly. Any questions? So we just wanted to introduce the different layouts and different kinds of components which are there. We will have much more detailed sessions which talks about how do you design a public toilet, what are the considerations, what are different kind of materials, finishes that you can look for whenever you are looking for a certain kind of accessories, in terms of choosing the right wash basins, in terms of your pots, what you should consider, what you shouldn't consider, and things like that. Any questions so far, guys? Hello?